Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet a board-certified criminal defense lawyer who is passionate about giving a voice to the underdog. His incredible journey, next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
I have always loved people with passion. I mean, if you're going to do it right. Do it with excellence. And my next guest is Benson Varghese. He is a board-certified criminal defense lawyer who is passionate about giving a voice to the underdog. Benson, thanks for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
All right. Before we talk about your thriving legal practice, I want to talk about how you got into this. How far back do you remember wanting to be a lawyer?
You know, it was kind of a running joke with my family that I would someday become a lawyer. I didn't know it at the time, but the milk mug that I drank out of was probably a beer mug, but it said #1 lawyer. And so my parents knew from a young age I wanted to be a lawyer. I was passionate about a show with a judge on it, and I always felt like he tried to do the right thing, and that just resonated with me. So it was a running joke, and here I am many years later actually living what my dream was.
Do you remember as a kid debating your teacher on a grade or your parents on, giving you, making you do a chore?
Certainly my parents. Some would have called me a wayward child. I was very headstrong. I thought I knew everything as children do, I suppose. And I was not hesitant to express my views.
Wow. And when you went to law school, right out of law school, did you join the DA's office, or how did that happen?
I did. So I didn't enter law school knowing that I wanted to be a prosecutor. I was fortunate enough to intern with the United States Attorney's Office. And I just fell in love with the work. The professor that I had that was also a U.S. attorney, in my mind, cleaned up an entire town. As a federal prosecutor, you have the ability to direct investigations. So he directed an investigation that took meth out of an entire town, and that might have only been temporary, but it was such profound work that I fell in love with prosecution, and I asked, hey, who has the best DA's office in this state? And at the time it was Tarrant County, so I became a prosecutor in Tarrant County.
Wow. So that had to be so rewarding. Was it a difficult decision to decide to leave the DA's office?
I thought I was going to be a career prosecutor, and I thought the high point of my career would be becoming a federal prosecutor, so transitioning from state to doing federal work. But what I found was it really takes good people on both sides. Tarrant County at the time was a phenomenal district attorney's office to work at, but that also meant no one left. So I could see that even though I tried 100 jury trials and did phenomenally at the office, the upward trajectory for me was limited by the fact that no one left that office. We had prosecutors who were there for 20, 25, 30 years. And I knew there was something in me that wanted more. I didn't want to wait 10 years for my first capital murder. So I made a difficult decision to leave the DA's office. I loved the work, but again, coming back to this idea that if you don't have good people on the defense side, checking the police officer's report card, making sure balls and strikes get called properly, then the system doesn't work. Our criminal justice system depends on good people on both sides.
Absolutely, and you've assembled a dream team. Let's go ahead and roll this video.
Varghese Somerset, the team. Handpicked from the district attorney's roster of the best and brightest. First, my right hand, Anna Somerset, a board-certified criminal law specialist and the brains behind your case onboarding, assignment, and strategy. With over 100 jury trials worth of experience, she is known for her tough approach in the courtroom. How tough? She happens to be my wife. Sitting next to Anna, the one and only Christy Jack, an expert trial attorney, wanted across the great state of Texas. You've seen her before, on the news, 48 Hours, Court TV. Her clients have walked free on just about every kind of case: murder, sexual assault, robbery. When she walks in a courtroom, you notice, and so does everyone else. You'll never see her far from her trial partner, Letty Martinez. Letty is the Mozart of legal analysis. While prosecutors sleep, this board-certified specialist drills down. She finds a silver bullet and then picks the perfect moment to fire it. Across from her is Robert Huseman, a former homicide detective and chief prosecutor. His 30 years in criminal justice are now in your corner instead of theirs, because he knows and speaks cop. He goes where other attorneys dare not tread. Don't look for him behind you. He's always one step ahead. Katie Heflin, Mitch Monty, and Alex Thornton round out our team of lawyers. They are our boots on the ground. You will see them in the courtroom, presenting to judges, outworking prosecutors, and putting out fires. Behind the scenes, answering your calls and resolving your case emergencies are office manager Brescia, client relations specialist Taylor, and media director Melody. It takes all hands on deck to keep the largest criminal defense firm in DFW operating seamlessly. Me, I'm Benson Varghese, the leader of this fearless crew. I started humbly, but I'm not one for false modesty. I built the best team in criminal defense. Look at the awards on my walls. Read our client reviews. More 5-star reviews than any other firm in town. I picked each member for their experience, talent, and ability to work together. When the stakes are this high, why would you pick anyone else? Varghese Somerset, your only choice.
I can see why you're so successful. You have to be so proud of your team.
I love my team. I'm incredibly blessed by them.
We were talking right before the show, Benson, and you were telling me a story, and your eyes kind of lit up when you talked about it. Will you share that with my audience?
Absolutely. So, I was asked the question, what cases am I most passionate about? And certainly for me, when we talk about intoxication cases that result in someone being injured or losing their life, I look at the person charged with that offense and I realize it's but for the grace of God that it wasn't me behind the wheel or someone that I know. We've all probably been there. It's so relatable. And the person accused never set out to commit a crime. Sure, they made a bad decision. They probably made a series of bad decisions, drinking and then getting behind that wheel. But no one, not even the prosecutor, is going to argue they meant to hurt someone or kill someone. And it can happen to anyone. So you have young professionals, people who have worked their entire lives and built their name up for decades, who are now facing prison time, right? Because when you lose a life, what does the community call for, right? A serious punishment. So working with those individuals and keeping them out of prison is probably some of the most profound work that I do, and I'm extremely passionate about it.
Wow. Yeah, I can see why you're so successful, and you're the guy that the media calls when they need a quote. In fact, last week you had a very busy week with the Trump indictment. We've got some video here. I forget. I guess this is the Fox station in Cincinnati.
That's right.
Tell us what was that day like? You did a number of interviews that day.
I did. Being a board-certified criminal lawyer, I was called upon by numerous media outlets to talk about what the indictment meant. Certainly, it was unprecedented. But what does the future hold? What did the indictment mean? Were there defects to it? How does it affect the possible political pathway forward? It was a great day to be a criminal defense attorney and be able to educate folks on what was happening at such a pivotal moment, important moment in our country.
Yes, and as I was doing prep for this show, I went on your social media. You've got great content. I mean,
thank you.
I run into a lot of lawyers, and you go on their Facebook page, and there's nothing. But with you, it's just an embarrassment of riches. And one of the things I saw was your TV show, the Second Shot with Benson Varghese. We're going to put this up on the screen. I want you to tell me more about what this show is about.
Absolutely.
So tell us what we're looking at here.
So this series is called The Second Shot. Chris Monroe is the person that I'm interviewing throughout this series. And Chris is someone that's very special to me. I got to meet him at a moment that was probably the biggest crisis he'd ever had in his life. He was facing a massive federal drug conspiracy charge. He had his life flashing before his eyes. He was looking at decades in federal prison. And I worked with him on first getting as minimal a sentence as possible. And then we stayed in touch with him because we care about the folks that we work with. We communicated by phone, by letter. We visited him in prison. And he's a success story. He turned his life around in federal prison. And his journey that led him to federal prison is also remarkable. He was a young athlete. He went to college. He played basketball on a scholarship. Extremely talented young man, but got into drugs that really took his life on a different journey. And now that he's out of prison, his story of redemption is so compelling. So many people go to prison. First of all, they don't know what to expect. They look at it as a period of time they'll have to serve and have no clue as to what they're going to be like when they come out. Chris went in with a purpose. He was going to make the most of each day. He was going to better himself each day. And that journey has continued. So we've been just honored and thrilled to stay in touch with him over the years and help tell his story. Underlying that story is also something that every American needs to know about, which is the incredibly harsh penalties for drug offenses in the federal system. So it's meant to be educational. It's meant to give people hope, particularly if they're currently facing a drug addiction or worse, facing a drug addiction plus the possibility of going to federal prison. It is a story of hope, and we love having this opportunity to share it.
So in the little time we have left, talk to the viewer about why, if God forbid they were, fighting for their life on a charge, why they would want to consider your firm rather than another firm with your experience in the DA's office.
Absolutely. So I certainly think we have an unmatched team. I am incredibly blessed to work with the folks that I do. And we've gone from representing just individuals charged with criminal matters to then getting into the family law space. And now we're handling wrongful death and personal injury cases. And what's unique about all those practice areas is these are the toughest moments in anyone's life. And you need someone that cares. The thing that makes my team different is we care. We care about the person. We care about getting them through this journey and making sure life is as good as it can be on the other side of this journey. But we're also mindful that there are competent attorneys out there. Most attorneys don't understand this person who's come to you with the biggest problem in their life. They've never been through anything like this. It's not enough for us to be attorneys who are masters in the courtroom. We've got to walk with this person through that journey and help them. So that's what makes us different. We're very passionate about helping people, and ultimately we care.
Wow, this is a great way to leave this segment. We'll also leave with your website, which is versustexas.com. The great Benson Varghese. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.